The world of Sygna-3 was a masterpiece in progress. From the void, it resembled a single living opal, its surface pulsing with soft, rhythmic waves of light. Cerulean blues flowed into deep violets, which gave way to shimmering golds in a silent, planet-scale sonata. This was the Grand Symphony of the Glimmerfolk, the pinnacle of their ancient, aesthetically driven civilization. It was also, by any sane galactic scale, a screaming beacon that read, "Life here, easy pickings." Within the luminous currents, individual Glimmerfolk drifted, biologically similar to ethereal sentient jellyfish, their forms radiating complex, shifting patterns of light. Their communication was not of sound, but of color and luminance, a language of emotion and art so nuanced that a single sustained amber glow could convey a treatise on the melancholy of a dying star. Photon, a younger Glimmerfolk whose light patterns often flickered with restless, untempered curiosity, tended the great orbital sensor array. It was a duty most of his kind considered a form of clerical exile. Why stare into the sterile, black emptiness when one could be immersed in the movement's breathtaking cascade of emerald and silver currently sweeping across the Western Hemisphere? But Photon found a different beauty in the silence. The precision of a spinning pulsar, the elegant dance of binary stars. Tonight, however, his own light dimmed to a steady, confused gray as he monitored the symphony's energy draw. The conductor's coda was approaching a finale that would require nearly the entire planetary power grid, focusing into a single, brilliant flash of pure white light visible halfway across the galaxy. It was a risky, glorious crescendo, decades in the planning. A small, insistent chime from a secondary panel broke his concentration. A signal. Not the random static of the cosmos, but a structured, repeating pattern. A simple, mathematical sequence. Prime numbers. His form blazed with a sudden, incandescent yellow. Shock. Then pure, undiluted joy. It was a hello. He routed the data to the Elder Council of Luminance, their forms currently gathered in the Grand Prism, the crystalline heart of their government. The Council's lights, usually a serene blend of pastels, erupted into a chaotic storm of conflicting colors. The signal was projected before them, a stark, utilitarian string of numbers against the backdrop of their own glorious light sculptures. The High Luminary, a being of immense age whose light was a deep, slow shifting indigo, pulsed a question mark in disapproving magenta hues. Photon responded with a rapid, excited burst of data. Coordinates, signal strength, the undeniable proof of a young, technological mind reading out. The Council's lights flared again. This was not a question of if they should respond. Of course they should. Art demanded an audience. The debate, which raged for weeks, was one of what to send. It was a silent, spectacularly misguided ballet of vanity. A faction led by the Luminary of Azure proposed transmitting the entire Grand Symphony. Let them witness our pinnacle their lights pleated in vibrant blue waves. The luminary of crimson countered with a furious scarlet strobe, too advanced. They would not comprehend the nuance. We must start with the basics, the first chords of our history. A visualizer displayed a simplistic, almost childlike pattern of red and orange pulses. The debate descended into aesthetic anarchy. The luminary of Verdant suggested a new hybrid piece created specifically for the occasion. A notion so logistically horrifying it sent several elders into steady, frustrated pulses of orange. They argued over the emotional resonance of a sustained G-sharp frequency versus a modulating B-flat. They debated whether the recipient species might be colorblind, and if so, how that would ruin the thematic weight of the second movement's transition from sorrow to joy. Photon watched his own light dimming to a worried pale blue. He sent timid, pragmatic pulses to the council. A simple echo of their own signal. Acknowledge the listen. His suggestions were ignored, lost in the storm of artistic ego. They were not hiding from a potential threat. They were curating a gallery opening for a guest who might have terrible taste. While the elders deliberated, Photon kept his sensors locked on the source of the signal, a world designated P7. He watched as the simple prime numbers were replaced by more complex transmissions, basic chemical formulae, the structure of a DNA-like molecule. They were eager, learning, shouting their existence into the dark. Then one day, the signals changed. They became frantic, disordered. A final, screaming burst of raw data, a chaotic image of fire and splitting continents. And then silence. A silence more profound than any Photon had ever known. He immediately blasted the council with an emergency frequency, a stark white pulse of alarm. He projected the final terrifying moments of P7 onto the Grand Prism. The elders' lights stilled, their patterns freezing in a rare moment of unified shock. For a single, heart-stopping moment, Photon hoped the lesson had been learned. The dark forest was real. They had all been fools. The high luminary's light slowly shifted from stunned white to a resolved, solemn gold. A new directive was issued, and the entire communications array was reconfigured. Photon felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps now they would implement a stealth protocol, shut down the symphony, and vanish into the cosmic background. He was wrong. The new message was composed and approved. It was not a warning. It was not a retreat. It was a 5-century-long real-time transmission titled Fundamental Principles of Luminous Aesthetics, a primer for the recently deceased. The first part was a 50-year lecture on color theory. With the philosophical crisis of P7's demise now addressed through art, the council returned to the truly important matter, the conductor's coda. The moment arrived. The planetary power grid hummed, drawing energy from oceans, winds, and the core itself. The swirling lights of the symphony coalesced, forming on the Grand Prism, building towards the single, defining flash of white. Photon, his spirit crushed, could only watch from his station. He had one sensor still pointed at the dead world of P7, a monument to his failure, and another pointed at the deep, black space between the stars, where wiser things hid. The energy peak was moments away. The Glimmerfolk world held its breath, a planet poised to become a lighthouse. In the silent dark between the stars, something else noticed the massive energy buildup. A predator that had been sleeping in the void, its senses tuned to such reckless displays. A single, automated probe, dormant for a millennia, powered up its primary weapon. It was a simple, brutal thing with no capacity for art or philosophy. It saw a flare, and it prepared to extinguish it. But before it could fire, a different signal, weak but impeccably targeted, was broadcast from a seemingly empty patch of space near Sygna-3. It was a perfect mimic of the energy signature of a forest warden, a species so notoriously genocidally vigilant that every other predator in the galactic neighborhood hid from them. The probe's threat assessment algorithm's word, engaging the lighthouse might attract the warden. It was an unacceptable risk. The probe powered down, slid back into the darkness, and sought quieter prey. Back on Sygna-3, the Grand Prism flared. The conductor's coda erupted, a silent, blinding, magnificent flash of pure white that illuminated the dust of the entire system. It was the most beautiful thing Photon had ever seen, and it filled him with utter dread. They had shouted into the silence, and by some miracle, nothing had shouted back. The Elder Council glowed with triumphant, self-congratulatory rainbows. They had shared their art. The universe, they were sure, was applauding. Photon looked at his screens, at the dead world of P7, at the mysterious spoofed signal that had flickered for a microsecond and saved them all. He alone understood the truth. They had not passed a test. They had been spared by a custodian. An apex predator nearby, deterring others from aggression. He dimmed his lights to a somber, steady gray and began composing his own private message. Not a symphony, not a lecture. A single, sustained pulse, set to repeat on low power, a tightly focused beam towards the empty source of the spoofed signal. It was the Glimmerfolk pattern for "thank you" and "I'm sorry." He didn't know if anyone was listening, but in the immense dark and deeply ridiculous forest, it was the only sensible thing left to do.